It's Ness, baby. DCCC. Oh yeah.
Where the money?
Cloud Kings.
High and I don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you. High and I don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you.
Mix that broken heart with this broken kush. I'm from Baghdad, I don't fuck with Bush. You and I are something good, but don't fall in love, girl, I'm nothing good. She love a man, it's tragic. She love that I'm a savage. She said the dope dick could turn the situation to a habit. She fine as fuck, I'm Roger Rabbit. Pussy good, I give her all these carrots, all the scars and all the baggage. I drive her crazy, she automatic. She want that seat right next to my throne. Damn, that bitch dead bad to the bone. I still got my guards up. Your wall has been overthrown. I fuck her with my J's on. I fuck her while my J's lit. She getting high and giving head. That's what I call a facelift. We rolling paper spaceships. I taste it. I crush it back till it caves in. I'm dazed out of the days in. It's amazing. She said, fuck me like you don't wanna leave. And if we take off all the clothes, we can't wear our hearts on the sleeves.
High and I don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you. High and I don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you.
Treat it like my smoke, always hit that good. Treat it like my syrup, she leaning off that wood. I'm alone in here, biblical times, I'm a stoner here. It's cold in here, but if she got the coke, she a polar bear. I got the smoke, I'm a floating here. She said groupies making I want to care. I told her love is not always fair. Relationships is just floating tears. Yeah, I got my boat in here. She got scars on her, she don't wanna bear. She got clothes on her and I wanna bear. Live in that pussy, I'm the owner here. Live in that pussy, I'm the owner here. I got emotions I don't wanna feel. Realizing everyone ain't loyal, that's gon' make it real. Yeah, you know it's real. Bow down, the God is real. They biting off me, I'm Holyfield. Fighting for me, I'm the Holy Grail. It's necessary. She fucking with who about to be this legendary. Gold chains, hit the face, we missionary. She said, fuck me like you don't wanna leave. And if we take off all the clothes, we can't wear our hearts on the sleeves.
High and I don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you. High and I don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you.
Even Luke Skywalker's father was Darth Vader. And now I'm fucking dead cause we're not related. No, we're not related. No. Even Luke Skywalker's father was Darth Vader. And now I'm fucking thin cause we're not related. No, we're not related. Nah.
They tryna slave us? Yeah. I done came too far for your ass to try to play us. Yeah. Rolling my tree, shit about to put me way up. Yeah. Keep the handy flowing, put your middle finger way up. And it stay up. And it stay up. You hated on me, bitch, and now you wanna lay up. Hold on, wait up. What you saying, huh? Shit is crazy to me. I was broke, starving, who was paying for me? Got the devil in the eyes, who was praying for weak? Foundation that I'm on, no one made it but me and my people. If I die now, my son is the sequel. If I ride now, I'm running from evil. Bitch, my son is the sequel. Mike told me they don't really care about us. Pop told me they don't give a fuck about us. Oh no. So all we got is us, all we got is us. I died for you, you know I died for us. I ride for us. I ride for us. All we got is trust. All we got is trust. I ride for us. I ride for us. All we got is trust. Get the money, I divide for us. I ride for us. They carry the monster, then they wanna call it ISIS. And all I think about is how these Jordans is the nicest. And fuck all them all, cause my future looking bright. If I let you side in my head, the shit could be fright. Now I had nothing, then your ass is getting all minus. Bush killed the people, said my people was behind it. I might have an eagle, that's something that I'm fine with. And kicks a few stacks, that's something that I'm fine with. Killers getting badges, then killing shit behind it. I build a fucking wall, put my feelings right behind it. No reason to be hated, haters still gon' find it. Fuck it, gon' change, my gold stay shining. My gold stay shining. I know I'm the nicest, I keep getting reminded. I keep getting reminded. Say I'm conceited and here's the reason I am. My gold stay shining. I ain't lying. And you see that. You ain't riding. And I see that. Mike told me they don't really care about us. Pac told me they don't give a fuck about us. Oh no. So all we got is us, all we got is us. I died for you, you know I died for us. I ride for us. I ride for us. All we got is trust. All we got is trust. I ride for us. I ride for us. All we got is trust. Get the money, I divide for us. I ride for us. I ride for us. I ride for us. I ride for us. Yeah. I ride for us. I ride for us. Yeah. I ride for us. I hope they never break us. For my dudes, I will climb Himalayas with no escalators. But they're trying to separate us. Same folks that educate us, trying to slave us and domesticate us. Shoot us down when we demonstrate us. Stop scratching my head over flake us. Roll with some regulators that'll introduce you to the respirators. If you try to play us, hoping Jesus save us before the devil take us. I'm like, Kobe in his prime with the Lakers. You tell me you love me, I call you a hater, cause even Luke Skywalker's father was Darth Vader. And I don't fuck with them cause we're not relating. Nah, we're not relating. Nah, cause even Luke Skywalker's father was Darth Vader. And I don't fuck with them cause we're not relating. Nah.
You got the wind, you got the wind to my dreams, to my dreams. You got the wind, you got the wind to my dreams.
It's Ness, baby. YDCP. Oh yeah.
Where the money?
All right, and we're live. So I don't do live streams very often, but I wanted to do one today because I wanted to cover this John Hickenlooper town hall because these clips are just unbelievable. But I'm also going to cover a bit of the DCCC, their new move against primarying Democrats. So that's going to be a story as well. But I'm also going to take super chats and maybe other random questions. So submit your stuff in the super chat, and I'll figure out where to find it. Oftentimes, YouTube like buries the super chat stuff, so I'll find it somehow. But I want to start with John Hickenlooper because this is, I don't know if you've paid any attention at all to John Hickenlooper. He's the former governor in Colorado, but this CNN town hall was ridiculous. So I'm going to share 4 clips here, and 2 of them are just for comedic value. The other 2 just make him look terrible in terms of policy. But let me start with this one. So this is a quick one, and it just made me go, what are you doing?
Some of your male competitors have vowed to put a woman on the ticket. Yes or no? Would you do the same?
Well, again, of course. But I think that we should be, well, I'll ask you another question. How come we aren't
asking the question?
I know. I know. But how come we're not asking more often the women, would you be willing to put a man on the ticket?
When we get to that point, I'll ask you that question.
What? What was that? What is John Hickenlooper doing? So, look, this is... I don't know if he was nervous during this town hall, but I almost felt sorry for him. Throughout all of these answers, he didn't seem very confident in what he was saying. He had weird responses like this. Like, the reason why men are being asked this question about, are you going to have a mixed ticket, is because every president ever has been a man. So it makes sense to maybe want to diversify the ticket come 2020. But to ask a woman to diversify the ticket, it really doesn't matter. It's so stupid. And it really, I don't even know what the hell he was thinking. He must have regretted that answer. And not to mention some of these other clips. Like, okay, so that one's quick and easy. It's pretty obvious that John Hickenlooper just was out to lunch on that question. But this, you know what? I'm going to save it. I'm going to save the one about his mother, maybe till the end. Let's get to some policy first. How about John Hickenlooper on healthcare? Does John Hickenlooper support Bernie's Medicare for All bill? Let's find out.
I understand that we need a public option. I understand to get to that 100% coverage. I mean, let's be honest. Healthcare should be a right, not a privilege, right? And I will do everything I can to make sure I believe that. I've worked for that. I helped start a community health center in 1973, and we said back then healthcare needs to be a right, not a privilege. I want to support any way we can get to universal coverage. That should be our first and primary goal. It should be our North Star. But I also recognize that there are north of 150 million people that have private. I mean, how many of you now have insurance through you or a family member have insurance through your place of business, right? I mean, there are over 150 million people that I can't imagine how we would pull them off of health care coverage that in most cases they like. I am more focused on how do we, A, make sure we get to universal coverage, and then make sure that we use, if it's Medicare, which I think is a good choice, or even Medicare Advantage, where you have different solutions and opportunities available, maybe more cost-effective even than Medicare. How do we make sure that we get to that universal coverage, but at the same time maintain and improve quality, and ultimately look at controlling costs? I mean, in the end, the last 30 years has been a spiral of medical inflation. And whether we look at transparency, if we look at preventative medicine and healthcare, we've got to be addressing this as a whole country. You know.
All right. So, of course, Hickenlooper does not support Medicare for all. This is the issue of healthcare is one that always bothers me when I hear these American politicians talk about it, because really only Bernie Sanders, I guess also Tulsi Gabbard, appear to support, to actually support real Medicare for all. Even though Bernie's bill in the Senate has all these co-sponsors, including someone that I would consider to be otherwise progressive, Elizabeth Warren. But even Elizabeth Warren is not supporting Medicare for all in the way that Bernie is. She's talking about how there's multiple ways to get to universal coverage. You co-sponsor the damn bill. Why are you co-sponsoring the bill if you are not going to support it? Now, she says she supports other bills that also look to expand coverage of healthcare, but Medicare for all should be the ultimate goal. Anybody that gets asked this question about healthcare, they should start with the goal. The goal is Medicare for all. That's the goal. Now, if you want to talk about how to get there, if you want to talk about protecting Obamacare in the meantime, then sure, go at it. But the goal should be Medicare for all. In my country, Canada, we have universal healthcare. I've never had to think about healthcare ever in my entire life. When I've needed it, I've got it. I had surgery once, cost nothing. I went there, I got it. I came back, I was fine. Like the medication too, even if we have to pay, so we don't have universal pharmacare here, but it is cheaper than it is in the US. And again, I've had no issues. So like a prescription, I mean, the prescriptions that I've had to pay for cost like $20. And I'm not joking. $20 for a bottle of pills that I need for whatever I'm suffering from. And that's it. So this is, I just don't, it's just this fact-free world. Like, Americans really don't understand that your healthcare system is fucking crazy. It's crazy to have a private insurance-based system where there are people making money off of this whole industry. It's completely absurd. And his excuse of saying, oh, people like their private insurance. The people that are polled on their private insurance, guess what? A lot of them haven't had to use it. When they realize that they actually have to use it and they go to use it and they think, oh, I thought I was covered. I thought my private insurance covered everything. But there's actually all these out-of-pocket expenses they had no idea were even there. But again, you're not polling people who actually used their private insurance or had to suffer an emergency where they had to experience something like that. So you're not going to get actual real polling data that reflects reality. You're going to get polling data based on the fact that people haven't really had to do anything major with their healthcare. And this idea, in Medicare for all, you have more choice because there aren't doctors that are stuck to insurance companies. They're for everybody. So again, I chose my doctor. The government didn't issue me a doctor. That's not how healthcare works in universal systems. You choose your doctor. The difference is that you actually have more choice in this system as opposed to your shitty American system. This is the reason why this bothers me so much, apart from the fact that it's a complete, just fact-free world in terms of America having this discussion, is there are a few times I've wanted to move to the US. And one of the main reasons I have not decided to do so is because of healthcare. I worry about healthcare. I don't want to have to pay a private insurance company. I don't want to have to worry about any of that shit. So I mean, maybe in a way it's a good way to deter immigrants from coming in because they realize you don't have a healthcare system that is worth anything. But it's just so, I mean, you have medical bankruptcies are the most common form of bankruptcy in the US. We don't have that at all here. Medical bankruptcies don't exist in Canada at all. 45,000 people a year die due to a lack of access to healthcare in the US. We don't have that here at all. People get healthcare when they need it. You don't die due to a lack of access because you don't have insurance. You always have insurance because it's universal. So this entire discussion is so goddamn stupid. I don't understand how you have both parties essentially towing the same line, both pushing a private insurance-based system. You really only have Bernie Sanders and some other smaller progressives in the race discussing Medicare for all seriously. Now, before I get to, again, the crazy last clip about Hickenlooper and his mom, I want to go to Hickenlooper's answer on weed policy.
And Governor, you, when you were in Colorado, governor there, you became, that state, one of the first to legalize recreational marijuana. I want to go to a question about that. It's Courtney Spencer, an online talk show host who is active in Democratic politics here in Georgia. Courtney.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to ask you a question this evening. As governor of the state of Colorado, though you were opposed to it, you shepherded the enactment of Colorado Amendment 64, amending this statewide drug policy on marijuana. Have your thoughts toward this initiative changed? And if so, would you champion this for the rest of the country?
Thank you, Courtney. I'm not surprised that that's one of the first questions I get asked. As my mother would say, you couldn't control what things would come in your path, what bad things life might throw at you. And in the end, we were very concerned about this, and I was opposed to it originally. No other government had ever legalized marijuana. Even Amsterdam just decriminalized it. We were worried about teenage consumption going up when their kids' brains are rapidly growing, what it could do. We were worried about the risks of more people driving while high. And partly, it's no fun to be in conflict with the federal government. But I believe that states are the laboratories of democracy, as Justice Brandeis said so famously, and that we would give it our best shot. And I have to say, at this point, most of our fears haven't come true. We haven't seen a spike in consumption. Significant increase among senior citizens, but I leave that to your own imagination. But I think the solution, I've come more and more to believe now that what the worst didn't happen, and even though our system's not perfect yet, we still have a black market. I think it's so much better than the old system when we sent millions of kids to prison, most of them kids of color, and not only imprisoned them, but made them felons, made difficult lives, already difficult lives, much, much harder. I would not ask the federal government to legalize it for everyone, but I think where states do legalize marijuana, with the voters or through their General Assembly, the federal government should get out of the way and allow them to be able to get banking, which we can't legally get in Colorado, so everything's supposed to go by cash. Allow them to look at systems by which you can have this experiment go on successfully. And ultimately, my dream would be the federal government to make sure that the Department of Agriculture and the Food and Drug Administration regulate whether pesticides are used when this is being created, that we get we get all the legal barriers to doing medical research around marijuana, so that we can get one system nationwide for what is medical marijuana, what does it really, where does it work, where does it not work. Let's make this a real experiment through collaboration between the federal government and the states.
And Governor.
All right. What? That was like 3 minutes of bloviating, of just nothing. John Hickenlooper, his state Colorado legalized marijuana. As he said, he had fears of driving while high going up. He had fears of there being other issues with legalization. And he talked about how none of his fears came true. He talked about how, well, we legalized marijuana. I had all these fears. Those fears didn't happen. And on top of that, he doesn't like how there's the legal conflict of it not being legal federally, but it being legal in certain states. He specifically said he does not like that conflict exists. So how do you fix that conflict? Legalize marijuana. But he doesn't support that. This is the easiest position he could possibly take. Again, look, nobody's voting for John Hickenlooper, so none of this really matters. But this is a microcosm of what is wrong with the Democratic Party as a whole. You have all the data, all the polling backing you up, yet you still don't support the fucking policy. And I don't, like, in this case, I really don't know why. Is it money from the alcohol industry, from big pharma? I mean, that is the only excuse I could think of. There is no other reason to not support legalizing marijuana unless you're being literally paid by other industries not to support it. Because other Democrats that I would consider not to be progressive at all, or at least faking it a lot of the time, like Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris supports legalizing marijuana. Other candidates, Elizabeth Warren, I believe, supports about legalizing marijuana. Candidates that I actually think that the majority of the Democrats running in the race support legalizing marijuana. And it's easy to do so when not just your entire party, but the majority of Americans support legalizing marijuana. So why would you not support it? It has to be the money he's getting, because when you're from a state that legalized it, none of your fears came true. And you specifically talk about how you don't like the legal conflict of it not being legal federally, but it being legal in your state. To not support it is just to be a fucking bonehead. And on that note, let's go to the last clip here where Hickenlooper talks about this unique experience with his mom.
We've been looking at your memoir, and you have a lot of interesting stories in that book. One of them is about the time you went to see an X-rated movie with your mother. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you so much for that question.
Anytime.
I thought it was better to write a book to let people really see who you were and the dumb things you did as well as the smart things.
And where is that on the spectrum?
On the dumb side.
Okay.
I was the youngest of four, and as I said, my dad died right after I turned 8, and my mother and I had a pretty tempestuous relationship. She was just the most amazing person. And I went off to college, and for the first time, she was alone in the house. And I didn't realize how powerful that was until I got home at Thanksgiving. And I promised, I called a friend in Philadelphia, and these were I didn't know what an X movie was. We thought it was a little naughty, but we didn't think it was that bad. Again, you got to understand, I was 18 years old. And so I came home, and my mother hated to cook. I mean, she was just a strong, powerful woman who got stuff done in her own right. And I got home, and she had this huge dinner laid out. And I said, I promised Jed that we would go to the movie theater and see this new movie. You want to come? And it's an X movie. I don't know. I was sure that she wouldn't say no. I made a mistake. And she said, I'd love to go, because she didn't want to be left alone in the house again.
It was a pretty famous movie, too.
So I took my mother to see Deep Throat. And to her credit, the first scene is... I didn't ask the question. But I will tell you that my mother was... I'm sure she was mortified, and I said repeatedly, I think we should leave, I think we should go. And my mother was the kind of person that rarely went to a movie. She thought almost every movie would get on TV. Obviously not this one. But she really, once she paid, she was going to stay. And at the end, she knew that I was humiliated. And as we drove home, and you know how the dashboard in the old cars had that kind of green light? And I asked her, I said, well, that was some experience. And she says, well, I thought the lighting was very good in the movie.
All right. That was enough of that. This, important to note here. When you're talking about seeing an X-rated movie with your mom, don't call her a strong, powerful woman. Just don't do that. I understand he didn't bring up the topic, but he could have told this in a less awkward way. And it may just be his mannerisms, his personality. That's just how he comes off. Again, I said this earlier. I felt bad for John Hickenlooper throughout this entire town hall. I feel like he has absolutely no chance. I don't even really understand how he won an election ever. This guy just doesn't seem to have his shit together. So look, this is, again, John Hickenlooper's not going to win. He, in my opinion, it's very unlikely he'll even make it to Iowa. I think he'll drop out after, the first couple debates. But this is an example of the Democratic Party as a whole, and in the many ways that they fail. Now, let me go to the DCCC. So the DCCC is once again hatching one of its schemes to try and stop primary challengers in 2020. So and beyond. So check out this headline. House Democrats move to hobble primary challengers. The party's congressional campaign arm rolled out new hiring standards to deter firms from working with candidates who run against incumbents. And how are they doing that? Through this. DCCC makes moves to block primary challenges against Dem incumbents. Per new hiring standards, DCCC won't contract with or recommend to House campaign any political firm that works against a sitting member. That's a stark financial deterrent. So this is not really surprising. This is what the DCCC does. They are all about protecting their own. And now that they've seen how successful a group like the Justice Democrats can be, they're afraid that a lot of them are going to be primaried, which I think is still going to happen despite this absurd rule. So this is really the DCCC trying to exert its power that they think they have, but really they are just isolating themselves from the rest of society. So other big progressive groups are not going to stop. I have a few tweets here to share, but if you search around, there are a number of progressive groups pushing back against this, saying, we don't care what this new rule says. We are still going to be helping to fund and push primary challenges in races that we believe the Democrat should not be in the position that they are in. So let me just share a few tweets here. So Ro Khanna responded to this saying, the DCCC is asking all consultants to sign a loyalty pledge to incumbent Democrats, but there is nothing loyal about stifling competition of ideas or trying to stop those with the courage to challenge the status quo. Hashtag this pledge is wrong. And look, understand here, this pushing back against this. So Ro Khanna could be embracing this because he may want to protect his seat. And he may think, well, actually, this is great. I don't have to worry about a primary challenge. But Ro Khanna actually believes in democracy. These other candidates, these other Justice Democrats like AOC actually believe in democracy. If somebody's going to primary challenge them, then they're okay with that because they understand that's how democracy works. This entire rule is done to protect corporate Democrats. That's all it's about. Now, I want to share 4 tweets here from AOC because she had a tweet thread about this, and it actually goes into some issues that you wouldn't think of necessarily when first hearing about this. So she tweeted out, when I ran, the existing Dem tech was so obsolete that we developed our own canvassing app. It was so good, it spun off into its own startup, Reach.vote. It's a shame that innovative technologies proven to work at winning elections won't be used by our party. And she followed it up by also saying, the majority of Americans live in safe districts where gen election isn't competitive. By stymieing primaries, you deny most voters their best chance at choosing their representative. We also deny the party the opportunity of training up a future bench, something we badly need. The elephant in the room here is big money and lobbyist donors. Our current system incentivizes all, no matter the party, to place big donors before voters. No primaries mean lobbyist money will have even more influence over policy because voters will have one less avenue to pursue change. And last up, folks often try to make this convo about members from mod swing districts. We get that those members do what they need to represent, but many members of Congress got there via safe primaries. It's how many working people, women, and people of color folks overcome institutional bias to get elected. So the most important part to understand here is that a lot of these races are in districts that are going to vote blue no matter who. So like AOC's district, it was going to vote for Joe Crowley regardless. So the actual race there is the primary race, is who is going to represent that district for the Democratic Party. So having the potential for real primary challenges are oftentimes the only choice that these districts have for actual representation, because there's not going to be a fight come the general election. So again, what this also does is give the Republicans an advantage, because it allows them to continue primarying if they want to, but the DCCC here is shooting itself in the foot. So this is just, look, this has the potential to hurt primary challenges, but I actually think it's going to have the opposite effect. I think it's going to make the DCCC even less effective, even have their power stripped away even further, and put the power back into the hands of progressive groups and active voters. All right. What's next? Let me do some Q&A. So I kind of threw this all together incredibly last minute. So I put if you're a patron, you can submit questions on the Patreon page, therationalnational.com/join. If you want to become a patron, you can also go there to join. And there's also links below the video, I believe. But let me check Patreon first for questions before I get to the super chats. So also, if you want to submit a super chat, of course, I will happily answer those. Oh, great. I have to sign in. 1 second. All right. All right. I have one question here from Patreon from Swerner. What sites do you go to for ideas for your news stories? Good question. It's Twitter. So I follow a lot of accounts on Twitter, a ton of news outlets on Twitter, a ton of people on Twitter, and that's essentially where I get all my research. So if a big story hits, it'll obviously impact Twitter. People will talk about it. I'll see it. I'll incorporate it. Oftentimes I'll see tweets relating to stories, so that's why I like to include tweets like responses from Ro Khanna or AOC, as you saw in the last clip there, because I want to get all these various perspectives into the story, and not just give my view on an issue, but give sort of a well-rounded perspective on what different people are also saying about that same topic. So Twitter for me is is essentially the hub of where I find all my news stories. All right, I'll keep looking back on Patreon to see if there's more, and let me go to, I think I saw a super chat. Love your show. Keep up the good work. Zach from Dornish, or Zach the Dornish. Thank you, Zach. That's not a question, but thank you. Okay. Now, if there are questions, let me, I'll take some random ones until I see super chats come up, but super chat will guarantee you your question. And I'll probably get out of here in 20 minutes or so. I don't know. All right. All right, so questions. Submit stuff, random stuff. Super chat gets you a question, or otherwise get lucky. Actually, before I even, because I mean, I got to search through this, so I don't want to bore you guys with me looking through text. But I forgot to mention Hickenlooper and his answer on weed and how we have legalized marijuana here in Canada. So since legalizing it, it's almost like we forgot that we legalized it because really nothing has changed. I mean, yes, you can now buy weed legally, of course, but in terms of the way society has operated, there hasn't been as many fear-mongering stories as I sort of assumed that there would be after marijuana legalization. I think because society was already so well informed on weed and understanding that, no, it's not dangerous. No, it's not going to lead to, overdoses. Again, you can't overdose on weed. And In fact, I think it'll actually have a positive impact on society. It's like when you have an entire country like Canada legalize it and nothing crazy happens, nothing terrible happens, it shows you this is a real example. Apart from obviously the states that have legalized it, where also it's had a positive and at the very least a neutral impact on society. So for someone, again, like John Hickenlooper, to see legalization in his own state and still not support it nationwide, it's just like, why are you even running for president? If you're going to offer no ideas, if your whole platform is the status quo, why are people going to vote for you? I just don't. It's like this archaic, old style way of doing politics. I just don't understand. We are so past this now. There are serious problems in society. You have to. I mean, legalizing weed is not even a serious in terms of like it's not a bold step. It's an obvious step. It's just an obvious thing that we should all do. Marijuana, we all know from the mountains of research, is not dangerous. And the people that are locked up over marijuana, it bothers me to my core because it makes me like society has such a different, they treat people in such different ways depending on where you live, how you look, and marijuana has been the perfect tool. The fact that marijuana has been illegal this long has been the perfect tool to lock up people of color for literally nothing. And it continues to happen today. And even when we legalized marijuana in Canada, we also didn't get rid of all those arrests the people that were in jail over marijuana convictions. Like that was a whole separate thing. But we couldn't even legalize and deal with the convictions at the same time. So it's just these people that are like, they're just afterthoughts in society. And marijuana has been a perfect tool to use to be able to create this entire system that is so clearly against or fighting against people that don't have anything. Now, the topic of weed just makes me, I spent years discussing drugs and legalization, and not just marijuana, but also psychedelics. I mean, I should talk more about psychedelics, but I mean, I had a whole positive experience on psychedelics that essentially allowed me to transform my entire life and my entire outlook on life. And we aren't having any of these conversations because we can't even legalize weed, the most basic drug that there is. Now, let me find more questions here. All right. TJ, thank you for your $1, but has no question. Platypus or Platypie. I use your voice as a sample in my little intro song for my channel, XX. No problem. Go right ahead. From Isaac Hovend. I feel like socialist Marxists are often looked down upon by the new social democratic and progressive movements in America. How do you feel about us? I would ask, how do you feel, or why do you feel that way? I mean, my political evolution is continuing. I would call myself a Marxist in many ways. I mean, I'm a critic of capitalism, which is Marxism. So if I have no issue with Marxism, no issue with socialism, and I also don't really think that social democratic movements and progressive movements, as far as I've seen, have looked down upon Marxists or socialists. Maybe institutionally they have, because I mean, just sort of the reality of politics. It's kind of hard to run, a Marxist or run just a straight up socialist. But at the same time, I'm seeing discussions around socialism and Marxism more and more. So the more that we talk about these different, all these various ideas and actually critique capitalism, as I've been trying to do on a more regular basis, I think people are more open to other ideas when you understand, especially if your own life has been negatively impacted by the society that you currently live in, then you're going to be more open to other ways of thinking. So I don't look down on them. Maybe other groups do, but I haven't seen that. Psych Mike, do you even see more primary successes in 2020? Yeah, so I'm not even sure. I think there's only one that I know of is currently active. It's against Henry Cuellar, I think his name is, who, as far as I've seen, has voted with Trump like 60% of the time. He's just a completely, like, not even just a corporate Democrat. He is just a conservative in the Democratic Party. So I think a primary against him will be successful, because once you expose how terrible his record is, it's going to be easy, I hope, to sell voters on what in the district he's currently in, because he is right now in a solidly blue district. So if you have a grassroots movement like AOC did, and you're able to actually go around on foot, knock on doors around the district, I think you can easily primary someone like Henry Cuellar. But in terms of other primary challenges, I'm not sure who else is going to be challenged. So I'd have to actually see who will be challenged and consider based on that. But I do think absolutely. I mean, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. This was just the beginning. I mean, this is the start of, I think, a real progressive shift in actually getting these corporate Democrats out of the party. From Deanna DeWall, what do you think about a Bernie Tulsi ticket? I think it's a potential. If I were to guess today, again, we are a year away from even the primaries happening, but if I were to guess today, I think a Bernie Warren or a Bernie Tulsi ticket seems to be the most likely. I was a little more apprehensive about Tulsi Gabbard before, but honestly, after her CNN town hall, I thought she did a fantastic job in that town hall. For the most part, there were some answers I wasn't happy with. Her answer on Ilhan Omar, she gave a much more. She was much more careful about her wording on Ilhan Omar than I would have otherwise assumed, which made me question some things. And I also haven't seen her come out about AIPAC. So you have all these Democratic candidates jumping out of AIPAC. I haven't seen her make any comment about that. Now, she may have had no intention to begin with to show up at AIPAC, but I haven't seen her say anything about that. Maybe it's changed since then. But when you have, Bernie obviously, but Warren, Kamala Harris, even Beto O'Rourke dropping out of AIPAC, I would have expected something from Tulsi on that. But her record on Israel, at least in 2015, she was appeared to be very pro right-wing Israeli government. I think it's changed since then. She has said some things that make me think that she's changed her position on that. But I don't know. We have to do a little more digging on in terms of her position on AIPAC. But yeah, a Tulsi Bernie ticket I think would be strong. Next, Derek Johnson. Is there some logistics on taking a pic of our ballots and sending it to a campaign? Some logistics on taking. If we don't have exit polling, we need something to keep elections honest. We have phones. I don't really know what you're asking. Is there some logistics on taking a pic of our ballots and sending it to a campaign? I think if you mean in terms of just ensuring that your vote is actually what your vote said it was when you marked it down, then I guess it would give you some proof that you voted. But I don't necessarily So yeah, 'cause I think you're saying this because it's illegal to take a picture of your vote, of your ballot when you vote. This is a question I don't know anything on. So potentially, if it's illegal, it's illegal. But I don't know what taking a picture would even do if you did it. So I don't really know the purpose of it. Jennifer Arbuckle. DNC wants to run these candidates from key states to take delegates from Bernie. P.S. Love you, David. I recommended your channel to others. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I assume you're talking about the primary. So yeah, if you have someone, if you have Kirsten Gillibrand running in New York, even then, is she really going to win New York? I don't, even with Kamala Harris in California, if all these candidates stay in, I still think it's going to be an uphill battle for them. I still think Bernie is, in some cases, more well-known than their own senator. Now, yeah, of course, they will know their senator more than people in other states. But I don't see it being this barrier to victory that it seems to be for Bernie Sanders. So, of course, yes, the potential's there. So you have Kamala Harris in New York, you have Beto O'Rourke in Texas, Kamala Harris in California, Kirsten Gillibrand in Texas, Kirsten Gillibrand in New York, Beto O'Rourke in Texas, Elizabeth Warren. I mean, I don't think it's going to be as much or have as much of an impact as people think, simply because Bernie Sanders is so well known. So if you look at polling right now, Biden is oftentimes in the lead, but it's only because he was a VP for 8 years. I mean, it's all name recognition right now. Even for Bernie Sanders, you could say it's name recognition. But I think Bernie has more staying power because he has actual concrete policies and a platform that he's been fighting for and has a history on. So I think Bernie has a better chance of retaining that polling support than Biden does. But because you had Bernie already run last time, I think he has this national exposure that other candidates just don't have. So let's say Beto wins Texas. There's still a bunch of other states that Bernie can win. He doesn't necessarily need Texas to win. So yes, I mean, once you get to the convention, there is the potential there that if Bernie doesn't have, 50% or 51% of support of the vote or of delegates, then yeah, the party, I guess, could work against him. But think of the fallout from that. I honestly, I know people are going to say I'm wrong. I don't think the Democratic Party is that stupid. And look, if they are stupid enough to go against Bernie, even if he wins the most, regardless of the percentage, if he wins the most delegates, gets the most vote, if the party is dumb enough to organize against him, independent run all the way. Bernie has to run third party. If Bernie gets the most votes in the Democratic primary and does not become the nominee, he has to run third party. That's the answer. Some of these names I can't read. Cha Wambone, or just Wambone, C Wambone. Please tell the story of your life-changing experience on psychedelics. Do you have 40 minutes? So let me give you a short version. Actually, if you search YouTube, search my name, David Dole, and search ayahuasca, which I have to spell it out for you because no one knows how to spell ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, I think. You'll see a 40-minute video, and I talk about the whole thing. But essentially, I've dealt with serious anxiety my entire life. For most of my life, I thought it was just social anxiety. I think, though, I have general anxiety, so it's not necessarily just socially. But so that was sort of the reason I went to take ayahuasca. Now, ayahuasca, if you don't know what it is, it's this psychedelic drink that indigenous people in South America have been taking for literally hundreds of years. And it's sort of like a catch-all in terms of mental ailments. So it helps people with depression, with anxiety issues, with a whole bunch of problems. So I went down for that. Ultimately, I don't know how much it helped with anxiety per se, but it gave me more of a clearer purpose and more of a perspective on life. So going into it, there's so much in this story I don't want to miss, but so I had to go to Peru to take it because it's not legal here. So I took it in Peru. It's like a week experience. I took it 3 times. There's a whole process that goes with it. But when I left, I could not stand my job. I hated where I was working. I was doing marketing. I don't want to talk about the company. The company was fine, but I hated what I was doing as a career. I came back. I was able to actually hold on to that job for a bit longer. So, I was so ready to quit by the time I came back, or I thought I was going to quit when I came back. The ayahuasca kind of gave me like a reset. So I was able to last in the job for a few more months until I was actually laid off the second time. So it was a job I had been laid off from before because, these companies, every year they have these rounds of layoffs. That's just what these massive companies do. So I was laid off a second time. And when that happened, I'm like, okay, now I got to actually do something different. So I started doing video production, and then I eventually ran in the Green Party, and then I started this channel, and I'm here now. So I think psychedelics have really helped to clear my mind and give me more of allow me to be more of who I am. And again, it's not for everybody. Before you do anything like ayahuasca or mushrooms or any other psychedelic, do lots and lots and lots of research. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. Never do something like take a psychedelic for like, a party or for drinking or for having fun. At least, this is my perspective. I think psychedelics are great medicine. If you take them as medicine and you take them with the intention of wanting to better your life in some way, then they will give you that. So just my advice there. But yeah, if you want the whole story on ayahuasca, just search up my name. It's on my David Dole channel. You'll see it. It's like a 40-minute video, and I go through the whole process. What else here? Aaron DiCarlo. I love your videos. I've only dived into politics a few years ago, so I find your videos super informative and easy to follow. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. Julian Franks. Can we please discuss the possibility of Bernie or really any of the Dems calling out Trump on his name appearing on Epstein's flight logs? Yeah, this is a story I don't like gross stories. I barely covered the shooting in New Zealand. I talked about how to address hate and understand why hate exists, why these hate groups form, and how they recruit. That's sort of where I try to come from on these issues, but I don't consider myself to be a news reporter. I feel like I'm more of like an educational entertainer. That's and commentator, I guess. But that's sort of where I come from. So for me, that frees me from having to follow and cover stories like, stories about molestation or rape. Like I just don't. It's not my thing. And look, if Trump's name appears on that shit, then yeah, there's going to be a discussion about, there are so many things Trump could have already been impeached over, but you're just not going to have the support in the Senate to convict. So I guess impeachment sort of is sort of pointless, but at the same time, he should be impeached over the shit that he's done already. So forget the Mueller case, just like his business ties. And you have more coming out now and shit like the Epstein case. Look, I don't want to get into it, but if he's involved somehow, and it's possible that Trump is, then yeah, maybe he shouldn't even be in the race at all. So it's a story. If that comes out, maybe I'll cover it in some way, but that's the kind of shit I don't even like to touch. Milo Wadlin, great work. Oh, thank you. Gretzky R, I love your shirts. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have a lot of these. So I'm trying to mix it up now, though. I don't want to just have, plaid. I have a lot of plaid. But I want some solid colors. I want to get some new patterns and mix it up a bit. But I'm glad you like my shirts. All right, let me... I got to go soon, but I'm going to check Patreon and see if there's any more super chats. Here's a big question. All right. This is from Patreon. This is Michael Klein. David, you are without question the best commentator on the planet today. You are factual, concise, humorous, and so very well presented. Also, your mic sounds great. Oh, for me, this was like the ultimate upgrade. The Yeti that I had before was fine, but this Shure mic is it's fantastic. I'm glad you appreciate it. And thank you for being one of the only channels to not have a stupid long intro to have to sit through. Just that cool, simple click. Please never change it. TYT and the Humanist Report and Secular Talk, all whom I like sometimes, all need to take lessons from you regarding keeping segments as short as they can be. Svelte, well-presented segments can truly change people's minds, but when they're unnecessarily long, like the other shows I mentioned, people tune out and you only... Hold up. I think this comment was edited midway. Well-presented segments can truly change people's minds. But when they're unnecessarily long, like the other shows I mentioned, people tune out and you only end up preaching to the choir. Thank you for the best, most shareable progressive commentary on YouTube. Thank you so much. People are really kind. If you haven't noticed, I don't know how to take compliments, so thank you. When you send them to me, I super appreciate them, but if I seem awkward taking them, it's because I am awkward taking them. I don't know how to accept a compliment. But I'm having fun here, so I don't want to go just yet. Let me take some random stuff so let me give you till okay, it's 4:18 right now in my time. So I'll give you 2 minutes to submit more super chats. Otherwise, I'm gonna go. But let me check out. Here's one question here. So Emmanuel Akingbemi, is Andrew Yang worth the hype in your opinion? And what are your thoughts on the glorification of the military? Good two-parter. Andrew Yang. There's some weird stuff with Andrew Yang. Now, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to, put words in his mouth. But he sharing some of the same language that some of the alt-right and white nationalists are using. Now, look, I don't think Andrew Yang's a white nationalist, but he has said stuff like it's going to be a majority-minority country by the year whatever. And it's like, why are you even talking about this? Like, why does it matter? Again, I don't, if you're white, why do you care if there's less white people? And understand there will be less white people. That's just going to happen. That's as more people procreate, there's going to be more minorities or not minorities, more people of color than people that are white. And I don't care. I don't know why anybody cares. This whole conversation is ridiculous. So for someone like Andrew Yang, a Democratic contender, to bring this up, I don't understand why you would bring it up if it's not because you're, trying to speak to a certain weird base you have. So he has a lot of support from 4chan, apparently. He's going to debate Ben Shapiro on circumcision, which is a topic I could also get into, but I'm not going to get into right now. I just don't look, and like his UBI proposal, from what I understand, his universal basic income proposal, he wants it to replace the safety net. Now, maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's the impression I've been getting. That's what I've been hearing. I don't think if you support UBI, you shouldn't be supporting it to replace the safety net. It's an addition. So his application of UBI is the libertarian application of it. This idea that like $1,000 a month is going to cover your food, it's going to cover your rent, it's going to like you can't replace food stamps and other benefits with UBI. So I don't really think he's much of a contender. He's going to be on the debate stage. Look, I'm super open to hearing his ideas and having a discussion about that. But when you have backers like 4chan supporting you, I just don't. It makes me put question marks around you and make me wonder, why are you in this race? So those are my thoughts. And on the glorification of the military, yeah, it's disgusting. So it's like the way I look at these sorts of issues is I try to think, how do you address it? How do you counteract it? How do you take us away from a society that, at least in the US, that is so militarized in terms of, having jets fly over at NFL games? Like that kind of shit. Yeah, there's a problem there. That's not how society should function. It should not be normalized. The military should not be glorified like, oh, it's this amazing thing. They're going and murdering for our country. That's not a good thing. Like, I understand, yes, of course, I support the people that are in the military. I support these people who are defending the country. But you shouldn't be glorifying it. You shouldn't be acting like, yeah, murdering for our country is great. No, murder should be the last on the list in terms of how to enact foreign policy, how to deal with these issues seriously. So I don't know what the solution is, but yeah, I do have an issue with the glorification of the military. Wambone again. How do you explain the GOP flipping the stars on their elephant party logo to pentagrams in 2000? I don't know anything about this. So I have no idea. But I'll look into that. That seems interesting. But I don't know. I think that's it. Let me do some cleanup here, see if Patreon's got any more questions. There is more. Michael Klein again. I forgot to ask a very important question. Who is your favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Damn. Look, I'm not a massive Marvel fan or anything. I'm more of like a, Dark Knight Rises kind of guy. So I don't like Iron Man that much. I think he's too obnoxious. So I'm not into that. Thor is just Thor Ragnarok was good. I like that whole style of that, but Thor as a character, I'm not super into like Norse mythology, so that's whatever. I don't know. Spider-Man's always cool. The new Spider-Man game on PS4 is pretty awesome, so maybe that's my answer. I wish I had the list in front of me. MCU characters, because maybe I will wrong keyboard. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but now I almost don't want to give the wrong answer. Yeah, not Captain America. The Hulk's pretty cool. Doctor Strange is all right. Not super into the Guardians of the Galaxy. Ant-Man is just kind of a comic relief. Yeah, you know what? Spider-Man. I know it's a boring answer, but Spider-Man's always been pretty awesome. So Spider-Man's my answer there. All right. Anything else? One more just came in. Good timing. Shadow Zach 9. Has come you never talk. I think that you mean have. How come you never talk about SNC Lavalin Trudeau scandal? Motherfucker, I got 2 videos on that shit. Look at the channel. I got 2 videos on SNC Lavalin. Now look, I'm not going to talk about it more because maybe I will if more shit happens. I could always do more on it, but it's just like, it's one of these stories that I feel like I have to explain the entire story before I get into new developments in it because it's so complex and just in many ways odd, but at the same time, totally understandable. So yeah, I'm not going to get into it now. I have 2 videos on it. Maybe I'll do more, but I actually did want to do a video on the Liberal MP that just left the caucus and the story that she had about Justin Trudeau, about how Trudeau sort of treated her like crap and how Trudeau was a bit of a drama queen. And I can't show it here. There's something weird with Canadian clips and copyright issues. So, yeah, I can't play the clip, but if you look up Trudeau in 2010, I don't even know how you would search the clip specifically, but he has this extremely dramatic performance. Somebody in the House of Commons called him or said he doesn't love Canada or something. So this is long before he was the prime minister, but he has this like 2-minute rant of like just pure acting. It's so obvious he's acting. It's I've quoted it multiple times since then because it is so outlandish, so absurd. I will do a video on it, but I can't do it in this live stream, but I will definitely do a video on it because it is so crazy. But you can see there how Trudeau really is just this actor. I mean, he was a drama teacher. Now, I have nothing. The fact that he was a teacher for me was actually a benefit. I thought that made him better because it made him seem more like a real person. But this acting in this clip, maybe I'll tweet it out. You have to see this. It is so crazy. I don't even know how to put it into words, but this is a guy it's all fake. His feminism is fake. His platform is fake. He's broken so many promises. His broken promise on electoral reform especially, I mean, hugely pissed me off. I just don't. And it's unfortunate because the Conservative Party right now is leading in the polling, and they're worse than Trudeau and the Liberals. So people need to just wake up and vote NDP. So I hope Jagmeet Singh can turn the NDP around, but I don't know if he's going to be able to. And Trudeau right now with the SNC-Lavalin scandal and just the way he's been acting, I don't think he's going to last much longer. All right. I think that's it. Let me just check. I want to make sure I don't miss Patreon questions because you guys allow me to keep going. Oh, here we go. From Patreon, Henry Utset. Why do you think that candidates are being why do you think that candidates that are being subjected to the McCarthyist quote, are you a capitalist socialist question, aren't slapping it down on principle? We already lived in a mixed economy. Tulsi did a dodge on this especially hard during her town hall, and I don't get it. It seems far more productive and persuasive to point out to the general public that capitalism/socialism is an issue-by-issue question and not necessarily a broad dichotomy. I think the problem... Look, I get what you're saying, but the problem is that the media is so... Or it's not even just the media. The way people's minds operate. So most people are not like us, where we're super engaged in politics. Oftentimes, people just want a simple answer. Are you a capitalist? Are you a socialist? And what do those words mean to you? In some ways, that's almost easier than breaking down exactly how we have a mixed economy. Now, I do agree, though, that it would be nice if politicians educated a little more in terms of, or spent more time educating than spent time really just pushing policy. I mean, they should discuss what different policies mean, what they do, and how they fit into this economy and this society. So, like, I don't know. In some ways, I don't think it's really hurt them, though. Like, when Bernie calls himself a democratic socialist, I don't think it hurts him. I think it sets him apart, even though essentially he's pushing for just a mixed economy, a social democracy. It at least sets him apart from others in the field, right, like on the face of it. So when you have, but I mean, on the other hand, you have people like John Hickenlooper, I think it was Hickenlooper, afraid to say that he's a capitalist. It kind of shows you who's winning the fight. So I'm not all that bothered. If I'm getting your question correctly, I'm not all that bothered by candidates saying that they're capitalist or socialist, because as far as I've seen, for the most part, it seems to be pressuring candidates to be more cautious and maybe push on the side of being more socialist than capitalist in how they present themselves. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I just don't. The electorate needs to be educated more on these issues, and that'll help them understand exactly what these candidates stand for. But right now, it's sort of cut down to sound bites, and when you only have sound bites to work from, then you sort of have to have a quick definition of what you represent. All right, it's 4:30. I kind of have to go. I'm just gonna do again because I don't want to miss super chats or Patreon questions. I'm just gonna do a quick check. Okay, patron, closing the window. No more questions there. Super chat, no more questions there. Done. All right. Let me just check the basic chat. Maybe I'll just quickly pull one out of here. Let me see. All right. I'm looking for maybe a question. Keeping in mind my time, I think I'm probably 30 seconds ahead of you guys. So, where's Kamala when Bernie's in California supporting workers' unions with her multiple donors or donators? I actually saw this is something you have to inform your family and friends about, because Kamala Harris is really trying to be Bernie Sanders. I saw her tweet support to the union fight that Bernie was standing with. So she is really trying to be Bernie, whether it's with labor unions, whether it's with Medicare for all, whether it's with other progressive issues. Though I haven't really seen her adopt the discussion of fighting back against the 1% in the same way that Bernie clearly lives that experience. But if you have friends and family that aren't as into politics, but they lean Democratic or they lean progressive or lean liberal, make sure you inform them that, and it's also the way you approach the conversation. You have to, this is the best way to inform people on issues where they may disagree with you from the start. Inform or tell that person you completely understand why whatever candidate or policy they support is, you understand why they support it because it sounds great or whatever. So Kamala Harris, I totally understand why she has support. I mean, first of all, she's a person of color. She's a woman. This is somebody that is actually different, just on the surface, different than what people have seen in the past in terms of a president. So that isn't inherently going to be more attractive to many people. But also talk about how, look, yes, she's saying a lot of the right things, but let's look at her history on these issues. Has she been talking about this before? Was she really fighting for these issues prior to this? And not only so introduce those ideas, but also introduce why you support Bernie or whoever you support and say, look, I support Bernie Sanders because he has a clear 40-year record fighting for these issues. He has pushed legislation in various ways. He has made Medicare for all, as one example, a main topic of conversation. I trust the guy because I see his history, and not only that, his donors. So when you have somebody that is completely free, not just of, look, they're all saying, oh, no corporate PAC money anymore. They're all saying that, but they're not all saying no private fundraisers. Right now, only Bernie and Elizabeth Warren are not holding private fundraisers. I did a video on this. Tulsi Gabbard, maybe she stopped now, but Tulsi Gabbard was holding private fundraisers last year. So as far as I've seen, only Bernie and Warren are not even holding private fundraisers. So make it known that when these candidates have these face-to-face conversations with their wealthy donors, that has an impact, whether it's directly or indirectly, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. That has an impact on not only the campaign, but on policy making. And you could equate it to, look at Barack Obama. Barack Obama ran on a very progressive message, but he didn't even introduce a public option when he was pushing Obamacare. And essentially, Wall Street decided who was going to be in his cabinet. And he had a lot of Wall Street donors. So you can make these connections and make it sound like it's not just, conspiratorial, but it's actually based on evidence and history, basing it on people like Barack Obama. So again, it's all in how you introduce these ideas. I have a great clip that or a video on how hate movements recruit. I suggest watch that video, but especially check out the clip on AOC. It comes near the end of the video. It's about like 5 minutes long, but she talks about how she goes into these conversations with people who don't agree with her. And it's such an important video to watch because people like us who are more informed on these issues, we have to understand how to communicate it. It's not just about being more informed on the issues. It's educating other people and doing it in a way that is actually accomplishes something and is successful. So you have to be willing to not jump into conversations with emotion and not get angry at somebody because they're wrong about something, but actually ask them questions. Ask, okay, why do you think that? Okay, you think that because of this. Oh, I understand why you think that because of that, but let me tell you why I think what I think and the reasons that I think what I think. And then you could just leave the conversation. You don't have to convince them of anything. Don't expect to convince them in that moment because oftentimes that isn't how people learn. But the people will learn by having an idea planted in their mind that they go back and think about again and again and again that you may have helped plant because you were willing to get into a conversation with a more open mind. So it's all about how you approach these conversations and educate people, because you have to understand it's the way we use our emotion is so important when it comes to actually having ideas stick in people's minds. Now, it's a little harder on Twitter to do that, but even on Twitter, I try to do that. There are people that have come at me for various reasons. And sometimes I give into emotion and I'm mean. And other times I stop myself and I think, hey, wait, I actually want to better this conversation. I actually want to educate this person. So let me approach this conversation saying, okay, I understand why you're angry. I understand why you think this, but here's why I think what I think, and then show them a clip or show them whatever else. So it's, again, guys, like you have to use, just be more self-aware. Be aware of how you come off and understand that the purpose here is to create a better society, a better world. And the way you do that is through informing people in a way that actually allows that person to take the information in and not immediately be on the defensive. All right. I believe that is it for me. Because I talked so damn long, let me just check. One more time for questions. Okay, no super chats, good. Check Patreon one more time. Again, therationalnational.com/join, and you will get to my Patreon page. YouTube has been good. No more questions. All right. YouTube has been really careful recently with some shit. So I had a video on the video on hate, on how hate movements recruit and how to help people who may be taken in by a hate movement. That video was demonetized. Like, YouTube has this whole problem with alt-righters, and they're demonetizing videos that are trying to at least help people get away from that. The video on Tulsi Gabbard talking about sexual assault in the military, demonetized. Again, a serious issue that needs it. And like, it's not even about the money. I don't care about the money. It's when they demonetize, it also deplatforms the video. It takes the video out of different lists and, you know, the coming up next videos and that kind of thing. So that's what bothers me most about it. It gets less attention than it otherwise would have gotten. So again, therationalnational.com/join or patreon.com/therationalnational. There's also links below the video, I believe. Yes, there is. That will get you there. Also, if you want to just give money directly, you can go to paypal.me/David Dole, and you can do that as well. All right. Once I figure out how to stop streaming, I'll be out of here. All right. Thank you and goodbye.
You got to win. You got to win. Too much to me. Too much to me. You got to win. You got to win. Too much to me.
It's Ness, baby. YDCP.
Where the money?
Cloud Kings.